Guys, I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast attorney Joseph McBride. He's founder of the McBride Law Firm based in New York City. And Joe's a great guy. He does represent 5 criminal defendants associated with January 6th and also a civil defendant. So he has been enmeshed in this situation. Joe, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Let me start by asking you about the kind of big news from yesterday, the indictment of Stewart Rhodes, the kind of head of the Oath Keepers, and the Justice Department has accused him and apparently some others of sedition. So I think this isn't the first attempt, it seems, to justify the rhetoric of insurrection. These were apparently seditionists trying to overthrow the government. What is your assessment of this charge and the likelihood of being able to make this case against Rhodes and the other Oath Keepers?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dinesh, and thank you so much for having me on. So with regard to Stewart Rhodes and that indictment, look, the narrative's talking point of insurrection hasn't worked for the left. So they are transitioning to sedition and they're charging sedition so they can call them seditionists going forward. It's unfortunate. It's obvious. It's a weak move. I think it's a move out of desperation, and it's definitely wrong. Regarding whether or not the charge will stick, look, it's a tough charge to stick in and of itself. It feels like a repackaging of other charges in this case, the obstructing of governmental proceeding, so on and so forth. They're just repackaging it and dressing it up for the 2022 election season. I don't think that it's a good charge. I do think that they will be able to beat that charge. However, when you look at the depth and the detail of the indictment and of the conspiracy language in the indictment, it is troubling. Those defendants in those cases are going to have to beat a lot of charges. Conspiracy is tough to beat, so I do have concern and pause with regard to the rest of the indictment.
Now, let's turn to your client or clients. I know that one of the individuals you represent is Victoria White. Let's just take her as a representative case. What did Victoria White do on January 6th, and what is she charged with?
Victoria White came to the Capitol to peacefully protest. She first went to the Ellipse and then to the Capitol rally because there were a bunch of different rallies scheduled there that day. She pushed up toward the close to the building with the crowd. And when I mean push, she was pushed. There was moving and shaking back and forth. She wasn't violent. She entered into the tunnel entranceway thinking that it was going up to another level. She had never been to the Capitol before, and she was absolutely pulverized by the Metropolitan Police in there. One guy in a white shirt, the commanding officer in that group, hit her upwards of 40 times. Other people joined in. It's egregious and it's wrong. She's been charged with multiple crimes, including the felony of violently entering the Capitol. It's a ridiculous charge. She's never entered the Capitol. She was forced into that tunnel. She was beaten while she's there. We feel great about beating her case at trial, and we do feel great about winning the civil suit as well, because the evidence is all right there.
So, Joe, remember I was in touch with you a few days ago because PolitiFact was doing a fact check on me where I made the statement that the police had used massive force against unarmed protesters in the tunnel. It seems that Victoria White is a clear case where that was the case, right? She was unarmed. The police did use force against her. Now, is there video evidence to support that? I say this because PolitiFact rated my statement, which I thought was just a clinically accurate description of what happened. I had seen some video myself as false with their so-called comical truth-o-meter. So talk a little bit about what you know and what you've seen and what there's also testimony from people who were observers who were on the scene. What happened in the tunnel, and was it a fact that unarmed Trump supporters like Victoria White were beaten?
It is an unequivocal fact that unarmed Trump supporters like Victoria White were beaten. She was beaten viciously. She was unarmed. She was not violent. Right next to her Roseanne Boylan was trampled, she was maced, she was beaten, and she was killed by the police. This is a incontrovertible fact. These facts will continue to come out with time. But this Victoria White's beating is widely available all over the internet. I have made it available on my Rumble channel. Your statement about those incidents is bullseye accurate. I will add that PolitiFact, they did reach out to me to fact check you. I gave them more than ample information to justify everything you said and then some. And then by some mystical act of God, they still failed you. That is a sham. It's wrong. They did it to smear you. You were right. And I call into question the veracity of that truthometer, so to speak.
Let's take a pause. When we come back, Joe, I want to pick this theme up and talk about some of the things you said in the letter and then generalize from that to a broader lesson about January 6th. We'll be right back.